Hey, you guys, welcome back to another episode of Becoming Secure. I'm your host, Emily, dating and relationship coach specializing in all things attachment. And today we are talking about how to let go of someone who's almost the one or who feels like the relationship could almost work with them. And I've dated people that felt like this. I've had clients who've dated people that felt like this, and it makes them very hard to let go of. So, we're going to talk about why people might feel like they're almost the one, what kind of creates that sort of dynamic, and it's probably different from what you think. And then I'm also going to give you some practical things to think about to help you process some perspective shifts to help you actually let go of this person and perhaps see the dynamic in a way that creates less frustration, less sadness, less maybe suffering on your part. So, before we dive into that, I want to tell you guys a bit about my one-on-one program, Attachment Alchemy, that has just opened doors again. So, you can actually apply now. This is my signature one-on-one attachment healing program. And it's designed to help women become secure and attract a healthy, emotionally available man. So, this is for you if you're successful, established in your career, you're secure in a lot of ways, you've got great friends, but you're just looking for support in that romantic aspect of your life because you want the relationship to match how amazing the rest of your life is. And one of the key features of this program, which makes it so different from pretty much anything else out there, is that it's a nervous system based attachment healing program. So you're going to be getting support on the dating and the relationship front, but you're also doing the attachment healing piece that is rooted in your nervous system and rooted in nervous system work. And so if you feel like you logically understand your patterns, you understand that there are certain kinds of men who maybe can't give you what you want, but you still keep going after them, and it's like there's this part of you that just still wants to be with people who are unavailable or toxic or just can't give you what you want, then there's actually a very good reason for this, and it's that your attachment system is what's choosing for you. Even if you logically understand that you shouldn't go after this person or shouldn't feel this way, your attachment system doesn't speak the same language as your logical higher brain. It's very survival and instinct based, and those responses are actually wired into your nervous system primarily in the first 3 years of life. So, this is where doing nervous system based attachment work can be so powerful and fill a gap for you that traditional talk therapy or counseling hasn't been able to. Most of my clients have actually done a lot of counseling and therapy before working with me. Not that that's a requirement by any means. And they always talk about how this program really offered something very different for them. In fact, you can actually listen to my client Janet's testimonial episode. It's one of the previous episodes where she talks about her experience and she went through attachment alchemy. And one of the things she talks so much about is how the tools and the nervous system work really made such a difference for her. And she is someone who was so anxious and had done therapy, done counseling, even done different support groups for like ADHD and things like that. But she's never felt as calm or confident as she does now. And she's also in a really beautiful, amazing relationship. And she credits that to the nervous system work that she received in attachment alchemy. So, the last thing I'll say about this is that the three main things we cover in attachment alchemy are number one, helping you develop a more secure sense of self, a more secure attachment style with this attachment nervous system based work. And so this is going to help you feel more grounded and less anxious in all situations, not just in your relationship or in dating, to feel deeply confident that you are worthy of the love you want, and to know that it's out there, that you get to have the love that you want. You're also going to learn how to be more secure in dating. You'll learn to vet for emotional availability so that you can attract someone who's ready rather than someone who may pull away suddenly, leaving you blindsided, telling you he can't give you what you want or he's just not ready, all those things. You're going to learn what types of avoidance are okay to date and which ones are a red flag that you should run away from, and what it looks like to actually be a healthy man who's ready for a relationship. And then you'll lastly learn about how to be secure in relationships. So you'll learn to communicate and navigate conflict in a way that actually creates more connection and intimacy and allows you to get your needs met rather than shutting down or pushing your partner away. So if you want to apply, you can find the link in the show notes, and from there I'll reach out to you, chat more about your situation, and we'll explore whether this is the right fit for you or not. So, continuing on. All right, how to let go of someone who's almost the one. So maybe you felt this before, whether it was a situationship or someone you dated who it didn't work out with, where you've got so many things in common with them, right? It feels like we just have this amazing connection and it feels like it could work out or could have worked out, but he doesn't want a relationship, or he's afraid of commitment because he's been hurt before, or he's recently divorced, or he says he's maybe too busy for a relationship, but then he'll still spend time with you, but he still won't actually be fully in a relationship. Or maybe he seems great in a lot of ways, but he's not emotionally available. He can't really connect with you on a deep level and he can't meet your emotional needs. And so you keep trying to sort of get him to change or get him to show up for you. And in these sorts of dynamics, it often feels like if just this one thing were different, then it could work out. But the first step to letting go of these almost loves is actually questioning that story that you're telling yourself of, if just this one thing were different, it could work out. Because when you keep telling yourself this, it actually puts the connection on a pedestal. And so it like maximizes all the positive aspects and it minimizes the reasons that it won't work. And so you're viewing it through a very skewed lens. And you actually have no way of knowing that things would have worked out if that one thing were different. I remember when I experienced this feeling most recently, so like over a year ago now, with a guy that I dated very briefly. And I had to remind myself of the little things that I did see that actually contradicted this almost story or just this one thing story, because you can't really know for sure that things would have worked out. And so I didn't actually know enough about him to claim that we were so compatible and that things would have worked out if he weren't so traumatized by his last relationship or if he were more ready or this or that. In fact, I remember specifically that this guy was kind of a neat freak, and I'm not. I'm not the most organized person. And I could already tell that this was a huge trigger for him based on his past relationship. And so that was already one area where I could see there would probably be some tension between us. And who knows how deep those things would have run for him. We might have not even been compatible because of that, or we might have just decided that we would be more compatible with someone else. So there are all kinds of things that we tend to overlook, which actually are important when it comes to compatibility, especially if we're telling ourselves this story like, oh, if it were just this one thing that were different. Usually it's not just that one thing. And clinging on to that story is what creates more suffering on your part. And so the first thing you want to do is start dismantling that story of how you'd work out if one thing had been different. Can you know that with absolute certainty and be honest with yourself? The fantasy part of you is going to be like, yeah, we would have, it would have been great. But I need the responsible part of you, the mature part of you to kick in and be like, no, actually, we can't say that for sure. So the problem is when you are chasing after unavailable love, you're so focused on keeping the connection at all costs that you often aren't actually vetting that person for compatibility or for subtle yellow flags that could become issues down the road. And so you're, again, not seeing things with clarity. You're not seeing them for what they actually are. So you need to go back and start looking at even with some of the subtle things that might have been there, even if it was a short connection. It might be a little challenging to do that. But maybe you create stories that are contradictory to this positive story just to give yourself new perspectives. For example, if you only dated him for a week or two, you're like, oh, it would have worked out if he had just been over his ex or whatever. Tell yourself some different scenarios, maybe, or maybe he has anger issues. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he does. I don't know that. Maybe he is very enmeshed with his mom and would never prioritize me over her. You don't know, right? So it's not holding on to any of these stories, but just allow yourself to consider the possibility that there are things that you don't know about him that may actually have turned into deal breakers. And the truth is, if things didn't work out with this person, with this almost love, right? If they were really that small, then it would have worked out. So if it didn't work out, then the one thing actually wasn't that small. It was probably a very, very big thing. And it's not, you're downplaying it essentially. So it's not an almost, it's a no, that's a pretty big stretch for this to have worked out. For example, if that person is emotionally unavailable or not ready for a relationship or has some sort of very significant difference in values, those are really big things. And those all require a person to change in significant ways in order for the relationship to work out. Or it might require you to self-abandon in order to keep the connection. For you to say, oh, actually, it's fine that you don't want a relationship. I'm cool with keeping things casual, even though you actually do want a relationship. One thing that I will often hear people say is, like I don't need a relationship, right? I don't need marriage. I'm not asking him to commit to that. I just want to know how he feels, or I just want us to be exclusive, or want him to commit to something. And the truth is, that's not actually true. That's downplaying what you want in order to try to make these breadcrumbs that you're getting from this person work out. You know, I know in pretty much all of these situations where I hear this, that woman does want marriage. Down the road, maybe she's not like, I'm not trying to get married right this minute. And that's fair. But the thing is, someone who's ready, you don't have to downplay what you want like that. And it really only hurts you to do so. So essentially, if this connection is built on that person changing or you changing or abandoning what you really want and need, then your connection is built on the idea of what could be rather than what the reality is. So, another perspective or another point that I want you to recognize is also that part of what makes this connection feel so amazing, so special, makes it feel like this alluring almost connection is the fact that he's unavailable or not quite the right fit. That's what makes it feel like an almost, oh, it would just like there's this intensity behind it. It's actually the fact that that person isn't what you want or can't give you what you need. And the loop that kind of keeps you attracting people like this is if he did become available for you, if he worked on himself for you, if he overcame his fears of commitment for you or finally chose you, then that would validate something about you. Maybe that you're enough, or you're worth choosing, or you're worth fighting for. It could be a whole list of things. Or you might also be getting validation in other ways from this situation. So maybe he treats you better than anyone else you've ever dated, or you have a certain intellectual or physical connection or something like that, or maybe he's very complimentary of how you look, and perhaps you dated guys before that who would kind of nitpick you or never really compliment you. They would never give you like words of affirmation. And so maybe being with this person validates that you deserve that kind of treatment, or that you deserve a connection with that type of person, or that that even exists. So how can you begin to maybe accept or embrace this part of you that you're really wanting someone else to validate? How can you validate for yourself what he's actually giving to you? And is it possible for you to hold hope for the possibility that someone could similarly show up for you and be fully available? Is it possible that that exists, and can you hold space for that rather than having to kind of fill that void or fill those uncomfortable feelings in that waiting time with someone else? Because when you can allow yourself to sit in the tension or the discomfort of, I want this, I know what I want, I know what I need, and I'm not going to jump for some person who's almost it while I wait. Instead, I'm going to learn to kind of be with the uncomfortable feelings of being alone, of being with some of that uncertainty, and then not acting on it, not settling out of fear, not grasping for someone who's almost it. So, point number 3 is, can you let this connection be evidence for you that what you do want does actually exist? Is it possible that his role in your life was simply to show you a glimpse of what is possible for you. Maybe this is the best connection you've had with anyone so far, but it doesn't mean that it stops there. What you want and what you need in a partner exists in someone who is available. And that connection with someone who's available will always feel a million times better than these almost connections with someone who can't fully choose you. You just have to be brave enough to let it go and be willing to, again, sit in a bit of discomfort and uncertainty as you wait for that right and not almost person to show up. So if you're in this situation now, if you're maybe in a situationship or you are, maybe dating someone who just can't give you what you want, but you're still kind of holding on, then I want you to do a few things. And some of these may apply to you if you're kind of beyond the situation and still holding on. Some of it may not. You can use these like retroactively. Think back on yourself when you were in that situation, perhaps. So, the first one, if you're still entertaining this person, or if you did in the past and it was hard to let go, I want you to ask yourself honestly, why am I holding on to this connection? And this is not meant to be in a judgmental way, but in a curious way instead. This is one of the things I always talk about with clients that's so super important, to be compassionate and curious towards yourself. And so listen to the difference. Asking yourself, why am I in this situation in a judgmental way, kind of comes back to, ugh, there's just something wrong with me and I'm just the worst. And, um, I just am a masochist and blah, blah, blah. So a lot of these shame-based kind of stories, or this feeling of just like, ugh, like beating yourself up. So instead, we want to think of it more as, you know what? Why am I holding on to this? Why is this hard for me to let go of? What are the fears or the subconscious belief systems that are keeping me in this? Maybe it's that you won't find someone better or that you don't deserve someone better. Maybe it's that this fear that you're not worth choosing by someone who actually is available. It could be so many different things. So I want you to get curious here. And these are shadow work exercises, which means that there are some shadowy parts that we need to be willing to look at. Okay, so the goal with these isn't to come up with surface level answers or to kind of glorify like your positive attributes. And sort of dismiss why you're in this situation. So sometimes people will say things like, oh, well, I'm just really empathetic and believe the best in people. So that's why I'm in this situation. That's actually not true. As sweet and nice as that sounds, you're not in this situation because you're a good person. You're not in this situation because you're a bad person either. But the truth is that empathy isn't what keeps you in unhealthy or unreciprocated dynamics. It's actually the self-abandonment in order to keep love disguised as empathy that keeps you there. So, this sort of thinking where you essentially blame your virtues for why you're in unhealthy cycles is actually a sneaky little way of avoiding accountability, of avoiding the work. It's also a way of avoiding facing maybe the shame that might come up. And it keeps you repeating these cycles, these same unhealthy relationship cycles, if you're not willing to actually face the parts of you that are a little bit shadowy. So give yourself some time and just practice being curious about what is actually behind why you're in this situation. And you can also, again, think about that going back. What kept you in that previous situation if you're out of it now? So the second thing I want you to do, especially if you're in it, is I want you to set yourself a deadline. So when are you going to let this go? Okay, if you don't feel like you can let go now, give yourself, maybe it's 30 days, maybe it's 60 days, to really step back, not try to control this other person, but instead to just observe, is this working for me? Am I getting my needs met? And to stop trying to control the outcome. Just take a step back and see what happens. And number three is I want you to consider, what boundaries do you need to establish? Whether you're ending things right now, or maybe you ended things a little while ago and it's hard to let that person go still. If you have them on social media, if you're seeing all their posts and their stories, if you still hang out with them or text them or go over to their place, you're not going to get over them and you're not going to be emotionally available for the love that you actually do want. So, have an honest conversation with yourself, be real with yourself. What kind of boundaries do I need to set in order to allow me to heal and move on? Otherwise, you're going to stay in this unnecessarily and you're just prolonging your healing. And number four, if you were super honest with yourself, what is it costing you to stay in this situation? What are you missing out on? Maybe it's that you want to have kids and you feel the biological clock ticking as you stay with someone who's unaligned, who you know can't really give you that. Or if you did stay with that person who maybe cannot even be the kind of parent that you would want for your children, like what is that going to do to them? And how is that going to impact you as you struggle to raise kids with someone who's maybe not a present parent? Maybe what the cost is for you is just the emotional turmoil of never being fully chosen by this person, never getting your needs met, always feeling like you're too much for what you need. And so, what kind of impact is that actually having on your self esteem as you stay with someone like this? Or maybe it's just wasted time with someone who's not the right fit when you could actually be with someone who can choose you and fully meet your needs. So, can you use whatever this is costing you as motivation to let go, to remind yourself why it's important, and even when it's hard, or even when you want to reach out, why you need to not do that? And lastly, I want you to envision yourself a year from now. Okay. Envision a version of yourself who is beyond this current situation. And if you're doing anything other than maybe driving, you can close your eyes if you'd like and sort of try to visualize or imagine what that version of you looks like, what she feels like. Is she standing up straight? Is her posture convey this confidence and just this security in herself? Maybe she has this glow about her because she's feeling so happy and so whole on her own and so deeply confident in herself. And she's no longer thinking about this person that you're trying to let go of. Maybe she's even in a relationship already with someone who's the exact kind of person she hoped existed and was maybe afraid didn't. But now she's with that kind of person. And so, as you think about her, and as you maybe imagine that you are her because you are, and that version of you exists, it just kind of depends on maybe what choices you make at this point in time and moving forward. I want you to imagine that she has some words of encouragement to share with you. What does she say to you? Maybe give yourself a few moments. You can pause this if you'd like. Just imagine, does she give you some encouragement? Does she give you some compassion? Does she tell you about all the things that are in store for you that are actually amazing, that are on the other side of letting go of someone who's not the right fit for you? So you can take as long as you need to listen and imagine, and then you can hit play again. And that is all that I have for you guys today. So I hope that this episode was helpful. If you have any questions, have any thoughts, or any reflections, feel free to send me a message on Instagram. I love hearing about your thoughts and just how the different episodes are impacting you or helping you. And definitely send this to a girlfriend if you feel like she needs it. And also would definitely appreciate it if you would like and review the podcast. And like I said, share it with people. I really hope that this work touches women in all different corners of the earth. And so it would mean so much to me if you shared this work with someone that you know could really benefit from it. So if you want to apply or more information for Attachment Alchemy, once again, you can find that in the show notes. You can read more about it. Or you can reach out to me on Instagram at Emily A. Dini. That's Dini. I'll put my handle in the show notes too. And you can DM me the word alchemy for Attachment Alchemy to chat more about the program if you have any questions, want to know if it's the right fit, all the different things. So, all right, I'll catch you on the next episode. And until then, I'm wishing you lots of luck and love on your journey towards becoming more secure.